What's good, family? Smash the like button and subscribe. So your boy Dillian Nate Robinson White has redeemed himself and smoked Alexander Povetkin. But I gotta be honest, I have mixed feelings about this fight. You man who watched my preview, I was 50-50 based on the fact that I'm not sure about how credible Dillian's chin is going forward. Full stop. I'm not sure. Now, Povetkin didn't really test it tonight, so that is what it is. But anyway, before we go to the negative parts, let's give Dillian his props. Again, before this fight, I wasn't sure what way it was going to go. I thought Dillian was going to come out and pull an AJ 2.0. Just be pure defensive, not engage, and be one of them ones. But to his credit, he did. I'm not sure whether it... Listen, we know this. The man who trained him was a don called Harold Knight, who I believe has trained Lennox Lewis in the past. But either way, interestingly enough, Dillian fought that rematch how a fighter who's been smoked fights a rematch. Any of you man asking questions why I don't rate McCracken, now you know why. Because Dillian, that's what you do. You go in there and you turn up. You want to... Dillian in the build-up, I wasn't sure at the time during the build-up whether he was just gassing the place up. He was saying, I'm going to go in there and make Povetkin vibrate. I'm going to go in there and I want him to feel my pain. That's how you should feel after being turned into a meme. After being Nate Robinson White. When you get turned into Nate Robinson, you should be filled full of vengeance. This man can't lace my boots, and that's what we saw tonight from Dillian Whyte. And Dillian Whyte ain't no AJ. He hasn't got that same ability, but still, that passion in him overrode any of his ability and anything else. He didn't care about winning or losing as such. He wanted to go in there and get his bit back. So hats off, that's a very rare quality. That's an old school quality. Now, these days, people are too interested in, let me just try and survive, and let me worry about my career, and let me worry about just surviving. That's what greatness is. Going in there, and in my opinion at least, that's a great quality Dillian has. Winning for him wasn't enough tonight from the jump, from the first round. It wasn't enough for him to just turn up and let me just, you know what I mean? He wanted to go in there and get his get back, which he did. So you can't knock that. However, the Povetkin that turned up tonight was shocking. And I can't even lie, half of me was thinking, is he been paid off? But then again, I thought back to the first fight and he was equally as shocking. Let's not forget that. Half of the reason I've been so questionable of Dillian's chin is the fact that how bad Povetkin looked, but was still able to KO Dillian flat, if that makes sense. When a man looks that bad, as Povetkin did in the first fight, and still knocks you out, your chin's got a big question mark on it. And tonight, Povetkin looked even worse. He looked like Bambi on ice. He just doesn't look well. He almost looks a bit sick, if that makes sense. Compared to his old career, Povetkin's always been very sturdy. Now he's consistently on jelly legs. And to be honest, I do kind of blame AJ for this, if the truth be known. Because Povetkin was sturdy as you like. AJ got hold of him, and he's never been the same since. Scarily enough, same as Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte had a A-grade chin. AJ touched him, and now he's getting knocked out by dudes who are finished, like Povetkin, for example. So there's definitely... AJ's got some dehumanizing element to him. He'll just snatch your chin. He'll just fuddle, just molest your central nervous system. To Kingdom Come. Never been the same since. But anyway, back to this fight. Povetkin, he looked awful. He looked even worse. You'd have thought he was the one who got knocked out cold. And there's an old saying, Father Time is undefeated. And it does appear that, for whatever reason, after AJ touched him all over and tucked him in, he ain't never been the same. And he doesn't seem to be firing. He gave it a little bit of a fight. It was a bit of a scrap in there. But he just doesn't have no durability. And his reflexes are slow. And it all looked he looked awful. Dillian should have never been getting knocked out by him, if the truth be known, in the first fight. I know we can't change history now, but that's really the bottom line. That man didn't look well in there. Now we heard about the C19 stuff he allegedly had. That also probably wouldn't have helped either. So all in all, it's good for Dillian it went this way, because Povetkin just looked bad. Povetkin looked so bad, it made it look like he was paid off kind of thing. But then again, I watched the slow-mos, and that did put everything to rest. When you watch the slow-mo KO, he was licked a good few times. Now, did the ref count a bit quick? I think the ref should have given it the full 10. Povetkin wasn't laid out with his eyes rolled and he's about to swallow his mouth guard. That's when you cut the count, when someone's comatose. Povetkin was standing up. Let the count run to 10. And then assess it. He only got to about 4, I think, and he'd already waved it off. He didn't look that bad. Now, I wasn't there. I wasn't looking into Povetkin's eyes, and I think the referee would probably argue, well, I looked into his eyes and his eyes were glazed, which may have well been the case, but I don't know. I think these referees, man, just do what the policy is. Count to 10 and then assess it. No one, me or you, yeah, or anyone who's questioning. It's not just me. I saw the chat room. Quite a few people were saying, "Oh, it's rigged, early stoppage," and it did look early. I can't lie. It looked early. When you stop a count at 3 or 4, people want to see a reason for that. They want to see a man just murked. Like, for example, when Amir Khan got knocked out by Canelo Alvarez. That was clearly, no one was saying rigged then, because his man was out, no doubt. This time, the man's standing. What are you cutting a count off at 3 for? That early in a fight as well. Let it run to 10, and then assess. You can still cut the fight, but I just feel that's what people should do. He wasn't in a dire need of the fight. That 7 seconds weren't going to be... Do you know what I'm saying? I don't understand the logic in it. Give him 10, and then light up. Stay up. However, the referee could also argue, well, he was standing and I had a choice whether to continue the fight or not continue the fight. I'm just not sure. For example, when Tyson Fury got put down against Wilder, the referee gave him some walking instructions. I think that could have been used. Now, I'm not saying that it would have changed the fight, but what are we doing here? Is it elite world championship level sport or not? If it is, if tonight was a world championship level sporting event, then let's see it play out. If Povetkin was going to get knocked out anyway, then let's see it. Or if he was going to be stopped anyway, let's see it. Give him the walking instructions. Can you walk forward? Can you walk back? Do you want to continue? There's no way that referee asked Povetkin and done all of the movement checks in that second, because he stopped the fight at 4 and then waved it off. There weren't no interaction at all. How can you wave a fight off that quickly? I just think that it could have been done better. Obviously, no one's perfect, but that's what the little things I've observed here. And it wasn't just me; other people said the same thing. It would arguably the fight weren't going to go any other way, but we said that the first time, innit? We just don't know. Now, as it looks, I didn't see Povetkin protesting. I was actually expecting Povetkin to protest, but he didn't. So that's a positive. However, some people are saying, "Oh, well, it's rigged. He's been paid off," and I can't lie. I don't know. He looks so bad, but again, I've gone but so many times, but still, but when he performed as badly as he did in the first fight, I think it isn't rigged. I think it isn't set up or fixed. It's more to do with the fact that AJ stole his soul and he's never been the same since. Plus, he's an aging man. He almost reminded me. Povetkin at the moment looks a bit like Chuck Liddell, the Iceman. Chuck Liddell gets knocked out with a jab now. He used to have one of the best chins in the business. Povetkin used to have one of them solid European chins. Now, he needs to retire. I don't want to see Povetkin fighting no more after that performance. He looked finished from the start of the fight. From the very opening bell, he just looked awful. There was nothing, he just looked knackered and, I don't know what to say. He just looks finished. Real finished. If anyone wanted to see a fighter finished in the ring, it's Povetkin. Got nothing to offer whatsoever. And in all honesty, I don't think it was rigged, because in the first round, we did see, or the first 4 rounds, we did see Povetkin give it a good fight back, to be fair. So I think that should be able to quell all the people saying, "Oh, it's fixed, it's rigged." It's more to do with the fact that the referee didn't do a proper job. And when you're not there, when you're watching these things on the TV, it looks even worse, if that makes sense. I bet if we were there looking in Povetkin's eyes, it would have made more sense. But these referees just need to follow the damn process. Give it to 10. Give him the instructions. Do you want to carry on? Everyone said to AJ, "Oh, AJ quit, AJ quit." Well, where was Povetkin? When was Povetkin asked whether he wants to carry on or not? That's what you normally do if someone's standing up. He wasn't on his back. He was standing up, and he didn't even... You know what I'm saying? Now, like I said, Povetkin didn't protest, so that says a lot. Either that means, number one, Povetkin didn't want to carry on. Number two, he's been paid off to flop around the place. I'm not going to sit here and guarantee either one, but having watched the shots that Dillian threw, they were big shots. But then you'd argue, well, if they were that big, why didn't he stay down and stay hit? Which actually proves it wasn't rigged, if that makes sense. Because if think about it, if it was rigged, yeah, he would have got hit by them big shots and just laid on the floor. So I think I've kind of proved it myself now, or proved it to myself it wasn't rigged. Because if it was rigged, he'd have got hit by that big left hook that Dillian landed, and he'd just lay down on the floor. The fact that he got up shows he was actually trying to fight through. Anyway, that's that part. That's the Povetkin side of things done. In my notes on the Povetkin side, all I've written here is he just looked slow and finished. Povetkin's finished. Boxing needs to revoke his license. He doesn't have anything left to offer the sport, in my opinion. Nothing left at all. He looks like he's got early onset of something. I'm not sure what, but he just don't look right. I really worry about him. He just don't. Something's not right there, and it wasn't right the first fight. Yes, he pulled off the one shot out of nowhere, a shot from the gods. But outside of that, he just don't. Something ain't lining up for me. This, bearing in mind, he's had like 6 months to prepare for this second fight. He just looks real bad, like he's moving in treacle. Not a good look. Especially after having been hit again now by a 260-pound trained man. So I don't want to see no more from Povetkin. That's as simple as that. Anyway, back to Dillian now to finish off. Dillian, at the start of the fight, good head movement. He's clearly improved on that part. The head movement he was implementing would have saved him in that first fight. I wrote here as well, aggressive. Again, like I started off this video, Dillian's aggression was 10 out of 10 perfect. That's what I like to see. Despite, listen, it would have been the most easiest thing. And I actually got to put my hands in the air and say I was wrong in my prediction. I said, well, if Dillian comes out aggressively, it's going to make it more risky, which he probably did. But still, I was banking on, my expectation was for Dillian to cack his pants and just run around the place and just survive and just go 12 rounds just to get the win. But it proved that Dillian, he's got all-time great level grit. He really wanted to prove himself. It wasn't enough for him just to win. So I do have to tip my hat to Dillian, because not a lot of fighters have that today. Most fighters today, they want to be like Floyd, and they're happy to survive, and just there ain't no real pride in there in the ring. Winning's enough. Not for Dillian. Dillian wanted to get his get back. Yeah, you knocked me out cold, you're getting it. That there is a great attribute that few fighters have. And in a way, I guess Tyson Fury even demonstrated this a little bit in the Wilder rematch. Got murked the first time, in my opinion, and he came back and wanted to push Wilder's wig back for him. So that there, both of them examples are good examples of how you come back in a rematch after losing it. Especially when, like, Dillian couldn't afford. That's the scary thing. In a way, it was a bit reckless of him. And when he was talking about it before the fight, I was sitting there scratching my head thinking, you ain't got the ability to be that reckless. And that's what makes how AJ performed against Ruiz in the rematch so disappointing, in my opinion. He doesn't have a dodgy chin. He has all the ability, but his team don't back him. And that's the end of that. The team don't believe in him. Look at how Harold Knight was talking about Dillian. Only spent 6 months with him, and he was saying, we don't care, we're going to go marching forward. How can a man who only knows... in fact, look at Fury's trainer as well. How can a man who only knows you 6 months get you gassed and have them performing like that? But AJ's trainer, known him 10 years, and they're all scary looking. Gets beat once and everyone's running for the back door. Oh, let's completely change our style and run around. What's that about? I don't know. But anyway, let's stick on Dillian tonight. So yeah, that really proved to me that Dillian's about what he says. Dillian is about what he says he's about. We can all talk about wanting to be ferocious. We can all talk about I want to put my fist through him and whatever else. Actually doing it is another thing. And Dillian's proven that his words can be relied on. And like I said, I didn't see this coming. I didn't see it coming that he would be that ferocious. It weren't in this. For example, it could have been, even compared to the first fight. The first fight, Dillian kind of built and the knockouts just kind of came. This fight, he was just sticking it on him in the first round, just going for it, raring, going for it. I haven't seen Dillian this boost up for years. He could tell. And some of my notes I wrote down here as well. Negative notes about Dillian I wrote that in the fight I'm talking about. In this rematch, he was over. His right hand, actually, when you watch him against Chisora, his right hand's very short and sharp and straight. He was rattling Chisora with that right hand. Tonight, it was real wide, and he was bowling the right hand. Dillian does tend to bowl quite a lot of his shots, but tonight, it wasn't like, for example, when he fought Joseph Parker, he was bowling shots towards the end of the fight when he was knackered, and he was just having to use his body to get the hand over because his shoulder was knackered. He couldn't throw it straight. It takes more energy to throw a shot straight than it does to just swing your body around the place. But in this fight, you could tell it wasn't because he was tired. It was because he was just so much anticipation. Often when we see fighters full of anticipation and full of grit and whatnot and that aggression, their shots loop because they're thinking too much about it. They're trying to put force into it. The best shots are Coley, AJ versus Charles Martin. The best shots are when you just let it flow and just fling it out, flick it. It's like a flick. They're the best. They're the most dangerous shots because they're quicker. People don't see them coming, and whatever else. And if you notice, Dillian didn't land. I think even in fact, the right hand Dillian did land on Povetkin in the last exchange was a short one. All them other ones, he threw loads of overhand rights and big looping rights, and they were missing by miles. That last exchange, I'm pretty sure it was a short one that clipped Povetkin, and then the big left hook to follow up. But again, it just went to prove me seeing Dillian loading up like that in the first round just showed to me how much. I guess you could call it recklessness though, because if it had gone the other way, if Povetkin wasn't as finished as he is, Povetkin's 10 out of 10 finished. He ain't got nothing left to give the sport. Anyone around Povetkin need to tell him, yo, you've done well, you've made some good money, retire now, you're done. There's not even a bit more Povetkin can offer to the sport. He's just going to be a glorified heavy bag now. A heavy bag with a name. Got nothing to give. I'm sorry. Please, his family, if you care about him, retire him. Something's not right there. Something really ain't right. And it weren't just me who saw it. In fact, anyone who knows boxing, Povetkin don't look right. He don't look sturdy. From the jump, he didn't look sturdy. I mean, Dillian nearly put him out in the first round. That's not Povetkin. Povetkin has never been a fighter who just gets knocked out in the first round. He's never been that kind of guy. And we saw the signs of it in the first fight. The rematch, clearly things haven't got better. So just sit down somewhere. That's what he needs to do. But anyway, as I was about to explain, Dillian, whilst it paid off this time, you do have to question if Povetkin wasn't as bad as he was, how would that have worked out? How would have Dillian's energy have been towards the end of the fight, having used so much of it in the early rounds? So yeah, all's well that ends well, but going forward, and to be fair to Dillian, I'm pretty sure this was about revenge for him. That's not always going to work well though. We saw in the AJ fight, the revenge part didn't work so well for him. It's all well and good. I think tonight, Dillian's revenge worked well, and that's perhaps something I've got to kind of settle myself with, because I've had a bit of a go at AJ for not being as aggressive in the Ruiz rematch, but equally, Ruiz wasn't Povetkin. Dillian, in a way, has gotten away with being so reckless and aggressive because Povetkin is just finished, shot to bits. If Dillian had been knocked out by Ruiz, for example, and came back and fought like that, getting mixed up in the middle with Ruiz, would it have gone the same? To be honest with you, he probably would have got stopped again, wouldn't he? If that was Ruiz tonight in there, and Dillian's in there just looping up, and Ruiz is rattling 4 or 5 shots off at once, given how sturdy Ruiz's chin is as well compared to Povetkin, I'm not sure it would have been the same kind of fight. So I do have to respect AJ. But then again, Dillian ain't no AJ. AJ's leagues above Dillian. So I do believe AJ could have gone in there and listen, no matter what no one says, how AJ performed against Ruiz was way too conservative. I don't give a F what no one says. Way too conservative. There wasn't even a smidgen of smite in there. Them last 6 rounds when Ruiz was clearly out of shape and overweight, AJ should have put the hammer down and at least built a bit, not just sat in gear 1. That whole fight was in gear 1. That's not acceptable if you want to be all-time great status. That man needed to be touched a lot more than he was. But yeah, who knows? It's all ifs and buts and whatnots. I do like what I saw though from Dillian. Would it have? But maybe he was that aggressive because he knew the opponent he had in front of him. And I do think Dillian's relatively smart. I'd like to think at least when he fights AJ again, He tones that part of him down, because going in there that kind of rampant, it ain't going to work against the top fighters. Even Wilder, for example. Well, who knows about Wilder, can't fight, but still. Even Wilder, I don't know. That quality is definitely something you can harness, though. It's better to have it than to not have it, because you can always tone and adjust things down. Not having it, or leaving it, or or removing it from your personality, from your toolbox, is not a good move. You need that in this game. You need that level changer, that passion. He's just got to know when to turn it on and when to turn it off, I feel. But all in all, Dillian's definitely put his bid in. He beat the man in front of him, but it don't mean much. And I still have questions about Dillian's chin, given the first fight. I want to see Dillian take. Basically, I need to see Dillian take a good shot. We didn't get to see that tonight. I would have loved to have seen. Yeah, of course, Dillian win, but I would have loved to have seen Dillian actually take a shot from Povetkin. Just to know that, yep, because for example, we saw AJ take loads of shots from Ruiz, and we knew, yeah, that was a blip. I'm not convinced that what happened against Povetkin's a blip. We saw that man who Dillian fought before, forgot his name. He put Dillian down in a similar kind of fashion. Luckily, Dillian was able to get back up, but it's one of them ones. His chin's a little susp right about now. Let's see anyway how it goes going forward. Fair play to him. He put the work in, went in there and did what he had to do. Right, we can sit here and analyse all of it. Job done in devastating fashion. That's all you can do. He got beat in devastating fashion and he's completely erased that now. Hats off to him.